What's up, everybody? Welcome to Strength Solutions. We're on Apple, Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Website, strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. And our Facebook, TikTok is Strength Solutions Podcasts. And we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. His name's Nathaniel. No, just kidding. Like I run this by myself.
Featuring Nathaniel.
All right. So I want to talk today about fixing pain because I've been helping a lot of people fix pain and stuff like that. And I really think the biggest problem I see, and I had a talk with my sister-in-law because she was talking about like back pain and having back pain and trying to fix it, is this concept of stretching for pain. Mm. And I think it's a big proponent of the more I can stretch, the better I feel or whatever, but it doesn't mean you have control of the range of motion.
It also is, I mean, they've proven this before in research and stuff like that, where stretching, the benefits you get from it are not exactly permanent or long-term. It's very short-lived. It might be symptomatic relief, but it takes a lot more to get to the root of whatever is causing the pain. Kind of like you said there, it's flexibility versus mobility, right? That's kind of what the conversation comes down to.
Yeah. And I just think people need to realize that all because I could get into a range of motion does not mean it's safe for me, right? Technically, you'll see people who fall off something and their body just folds.
Yeah.
Right. And they could get in that range of motion, but it doesn't mean it was a safe way to get in there, right?
Yeah.
But if you could control it like a contortionist can and with some strength, it's a little different.
There's a difference between what's called passive range of motion and active range of motion, right? Passive is usually what someone or yourself can sort of push yourself into, right? I don't know, getting your hand behind your head or really stretching your legs straight up or something like that. With the help of someone else, you may be able to move to a certain range of motion. But if I were to ask you, hey, lay on your back and lift your leg up as high as you can, and you know, you can get halfway, a quarter of the way there, well, there's the difference between that passive and active. So if you were to try to move into that range of motion on your own, that you got passively, you might incur an injury.
Yeah. And also, if you're looking for a great way to get better and more active, you can use weights for stretching and getting mobility. And that's a great way to actually stretch and get a more control in that end range of motion. Now, the other part is always the symptom is the cause of it, right? They're like, I have knee pain, so it must be the knee. Very rarely, wherever you're feeling pain when it comes to physical fitness, it's a symptom of something else causing it where there's more of a complex joint. And so today I was talking to a client. I've helped fix shoulder pain by switching the pelvis of somebody. Right? Because the pelvis and ribs kind of work together. So if I shift the pelvis a little bit, it'll shift the ribs a little bit down where it needs to be. And now their shoulder's not like catching on an overhead tricep extension.
Right.
It's that complex, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've had one of the worst injuries I ever had is when there's no other way to say it, but like I rotated my rib cage essentially and twisted my whole like thoracic spine to the side. And oh my God, how many problems that caused. You know, everything gets tight on one end and then now you can't move and you're locking up and doing all these things. And, you know, if I didn't know exactly what happened to me, I might say, oh man, my hip really hurts or, my shoulder really hurts or whatever it is, but it's all because I had twisted that whole T-spine over.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was talking to one of the trainers today and he was telling me about some shoulder pain that he was having, kind of pointing at, he was like, it's here and then now it's here and now it's, then it moved back over this way. And okay, well, that doesn't mean that you had an injury here, an injury there, an injury somewhere, right? It just means that something else is going on that's causing that pain and you're shifting or moving or whatever, and it's changing where you're getting that, what do they call it? There's a certain word for it, but
like an incorrect stimulus. Right?
Yeah. And that pain is moving around and trying to tell you like something's going on. But that doesn't mean that, hey, there's something wrong with my shoulder right here.
Which leads me to Instagram and social media telling you that there is this one exercise that'll fix shoulder pain, this one exercise to fix your back pain. It's because your glutes. It's because of this. There is not a one size approach. And also when people are going through the process, everybody has rates at which they recover. Yeah. And it has to do with frequency, the amount of time that you've been in pain, the amount of time that you spent not working out, There's a lot of factors that go into how fast you recover. So I've had 2 different people with back pain, but one person has years of training in an improper form, and it's harder for them to recover. Someone just got their back pain. It's easier for them to get out. It's just people forget that the brain and central nervous system adapts to what you do more frequently. Yeah. So if I'm at the desk all day and I'm internally rotated on my shoulder, well, my body's going to want to adapt to be more internally rotated. And so there becomes a problem there if that doesn't happen, you know?
Mm. And like you said, I mean, everybody has this different.
We're all unique, right?
Yeah. And everybody progresses differently.
Except for Nathaniel here.
I'm perfect. That's what it is. Yeah. and
perfectly dumb.
And so everybody progresses differently. And your recovery is going to be, yours. And like you said, some people will recover super quick. Some people have chronic history of all of these things that are going on. Just take it at your own pace.
And there's times too throughout your recovery process, you're going to feel like, oh, it's going well. And then all of a sudden it shifts back a little bit.
Yeah. And
then you're going to go, it's going well. And it shifts back. And it's just going to take time. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, it takes time for your central nervous system to adapt to what you did for so long. Mm-hmm. Okay, dude, that leads me to this. There's a video you showed me. Mm-hmm. And the guy was talking about the butt wink. Mm-hmm. And there's another guy, his name's Connor Harris. He has a lot of good information.
Yeah.
And then dysfunctional patterns is the other guy.
Yes.
He's like, well, I just adjust his stance or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's like truths in both. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
You can adjust somebody's stance and it'll take away that butt wink.
So for anybody that doesn't know, butt wink is what you see.
Your butt gets an eyeball and goes.
Where if you've ever seen somebody squatting and they kind of get to a low position, you'll sort of see the pelvis sort of like tip, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of underneath. And it's really quick, boom, and then right back out. And then you come up to the top. And, there are some things, I guess, that could go wrong with that. Sort of like, I guess, what we were talking about earlier, like the chronic use injuries type of thing. But sometimes, like in the video, one of the guys was like, they failed to tell us like what is going to happen if you have butt wink, right? They keep saying, oh, this is a huge problem and you got to fix it and you got to do this and that, whatever. But it's like, does it, really matter? Maybe at a certain weight, it's important to fix. Maybe, like you said, kind of squatting for your anatomy, right? Maybe you need to be wider. Maybe you need
I think we had a case here. Mm-hmm. You're asking me questions and we just said she probably needs to go wider. And change everything,
and
right?
like externally rotate the toes a little bit more, or maybe you do need more lower.
Oh my god, we all have different anatomy.
Exactly, yeah. And so seeing something, it's funny, I was talking to a client who was working with another trainer for a while, and we were training today and we were talking about the deadlift, and she was like, this exercise, like it makes me really nervous. And I was like, why? Like, are you like, did you get hurt or something like that? And she told me that it wasn't that, it was the exercise that made her nervous, but she was like, so many people have told me different ways to do it. So now I get like anxiety trying to do it because I don't want to do it wrong. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And she was like, the trainer that she was working with, she was like, she's really nice to me and just tells me like, hey, if it feels fine, then it's probably okay. And I was like, nah, I mean, she's probably right. Like I was like,
if it feels good, some people need to be rotated over top. Some need to be pulled back a little bit
maybe
more.
You're a little more rounded, right? Maybe you're a little more extended. But the thing is, like, I told her the same thing. I was like, nah, I mean, she's not totally wrong. Like, if it feels fine and you're feeling it in the glutes and the hamstrings and whatever.
Feeling where you want to feel.
Yeah, then, I mean, we don't really need to go I don't need you doing it 100% textbook because that may just not work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody's anatomy is so different. Yeah. If you watch us lift, it's just completely different.
Yeah.
I'm just better.
The anatomy.
But speaking of butt wink, right?
Uh-oh.
I see why you like anal. So I sent you this article. It was about research, and guys can orgasm more off of just anal penetration without anything other played with versus women.
So this is what they call the P spot. Girls have a G spot, right? There's the P spot.
So for guys, it was like 40% of the guys they surveyed can just orgasm without being touched anywhere else.
And it's
and for women, it was 20%.
That's crazy. And so it's funny because like you think about people who are like gay or whatever, and I know I've heard people say like, "How is that enjoyable? Like, what's that?" And I'm like,
Camille tells me she does it to you all the time.
Exactly. Yes.
You love it.
Like, what's the problem?
She pulls on your hair too.
I put in little pigtails, And I mean, this has been something that's been going on for a long time, and it's like I don't know. I guess there's such a stigma against it, right? That guys are like, oh no, I don't ever want to.
Okay, so like like the 300, the Warriors back in the day, it's just a bunch of gay guys, pretty much. I mean, they were pretty much because they had to have sex, right? Like they're like high testosterone guys, probably having sex with each other. They probably all orgasmed that way off of each other and stuff, and like it made them, because there's stories of them like they fight harder because they were connected and bonded through this.
There's like I know that there was like a recovered statue or something, but it's actually crazy. There's a recovered like figure or something like that came with some information, and they were saying it was like a figure of like two guys fucking, and they were saying that it was like a ritual that was performed in order to like pass strength to each other. And so it's like all these things. It's like a history, right, of this happening in the most manly and hardcore warring societies, right? Yeah. And it's like it's probably just getting up,
I mean, I just think it's just where people are bisexual. I think everybody is, right?
Oh,
like, everyone. Like,
okay.
Can you find a guy attractive?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you act on it, right?
Uh-huh.
Now you're in a situation, you're like 4 or 5 years without a woman around. Are you going to have sex with the guy?
Who knows?
Who knows? It may happen.
You might.
Right? I'm just saying. Right?
Yeah.
At some sort of way, you got to get it out.
It's animalistic, right? It comes out at some point.
So I think everybody's like somewhat, you're just in some sort of extreme. It doesn't make you right or wrong.
Or like you say, like, why do we have to identify it?
Yeah, it's like a spectrum, right? It's like
it's definitely a spectrum, that's for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Nathaniel Zano. Speaking of Nathaniel Zano, he can now show his YouTube.
Hey, finally.
Yeah, so they relaxed YouTube moderation rules, which is kind of crazy.
I'm rolling it out, guys.
I'm rolling it
I've been keeping this to myself for a little while.
OF page coming too.
There's tons of videos already. So
Camille is a boss.
I saw it, and I was reading a little bit about it and things like that. And one of the commenters in the article was like, they were like they're relaxing it because that's what sells.
Yeah.
Right. More
it is
more extreme. And so if you can, I don't know, because YouTube I feel like is not super moderated, like hardcore. Like you can cuss and you can do shit.
They're also pulling it back because they realize that if they ban this video, this group's going to fight. If they ban that video, this group, and nobody's going to be satisfied. So they don't have to deal with the freedom of speech thing. They're like, just let everything on.
Just let it go. Yeah.
And whatever sells, whatever does. And honestly, I think at this point, this is probably the best they can do, right?
Yeah, because what do you do, right? And then, people get pissed off when they're being, moderated or whatever. And then, you create a whole different social
makes
medias and stuff.
Yeah, because I was going to go to social media. It makes me think of like when you send me the Food Lies guy. He's all against plants and shit like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, spinach doesn't have as much iron as meat. Blah, blah, blah. Like we're omnivores. Like at the end of the day, we're supposed to have some sort of balance. Yeah, meat helped our brain grow and fish, but like vegetables probably play a vital part. Like less likely to get colon cancer because of fiber.
So many people are so different, dude. Like I have clients who are like, we were never meant to eat meat. We were not supposed to eat meat all the time.
And I'd be like, bro, you're lying.
Yeah. Or, the opposite way. It's like, oh, we were never supposed to eat plants. All we should do is whatever. Yeah. And it's like, okay, can we get to like some middle ground? Like we're clearly optimized to do all of it, to eat everything and get something from it.
And I would argue we're optimized to eat even seasonal a little bit here too. Yeah. Like we'll probably do better with like a higher fat, higher protein diet in the winter because a lot of vegetables just were not around, or fruit, unless you lived in tropical areas. And during the summer, you probably do a little bit better with carbohydrates. One, you're probably more active. Two, it's available in nature. And then three, the sun with the vitamin D allows you to actually help a little bit.
And so, I mean, there's so many different, schools of thought and all of this and everything like that. But it's at the end of the day, we're supposed to be everything. And like today just before we got on the podcast, I was reading the Food Lies guy.
You're lying because you're reading.
And the guy was like, oh, there was over 100,000 deaths from people drinking raw milk last year, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, nah, JK, it was alcohol. Like, raw milk is the best. And I'm like, dude, like, maybe it is for you, other people.
How many people have died of raw milk? I don't know.
But
also, where am I sourcing it? Where am I getting? There's so many complexities in life, and it just drives me insane that we have to group and try to make things simple.
And it's so easy to like make that fit your narrative. Easy. Yeah. There you go. I can make the same post about, raw milk or, unpesticide or pesticide free vegetables. I don't know. Something, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like the goal, I guess, to do stuff like that is just really silly. And it just makes shit hard to understand.
Social media. I mean, it's just like that guy commenting on the girl's thing because she was like, you could be big and fit and not be, you don't have to look a certain way, which is somewhat true, right? Yeah. But there's like a middle ground to it too. Like you can be big and unhealthy and work out, but someone who's fit and works out probably looks better, probably is healthier. Yeah. Now there's an extreme example where you're talking about bodybuilders. They quote unquote look really healthy. And it's just, we live in extremes so much. It's just insane to me.
Yeah, the guy had a pretty good video because
he did do a good job.
Yeah, he did a good job of like
Nathaniel
playing both sides. Like, he was saying, I see her point, but I also think that there's, like you said, like there's extremes and things like that. I was watching an interview with these two guys. I forgot what their names are. They're like TikTok dudes,
Harold
but they're.
Kumar.
I wish, man.
Go to White Castle.
Those, yeah. But they're like these two like bodybuilder dudes, and the guy was kind of doing like a funny interview with them, and he was like, "So would you two consider yourself the only two people in the world that work out to be unhealthier because they're like shooting shit up and everything?" And it's like, they have those extremes, right? Where it's like these dudes might be super jacked and everything, but they also might die of a heart attack at 40 because of all the stuff they're taking, right?
At the end of the day, it's their choice. Like you can decide how you live your life. I think too many times people are into other people's lives.
Yeah, if you want to fucking go big and go home, go big and go home.
When we're talking about the enhanced gains, right? They're like, someone I told was like, oh my God, but it's going to be so extreme. If they want to die at 50, they can die at 50. It doesn't affect me. Right? Yeah. Like if they are willing to take the chance, they know the risk. These are grown individuals. Like if, when people are like, oh, she's 20 years old and she's dating like a 50-year-old guy, they're grown.
Hey man.
I don't care. Or vice versa. If the kid was 20 and he was dating a 50-year-old woman, who cares?
Get your back.
Why are people in everybody's life? You have to live this way. You got to be for Jesus. You got to be for Allah. You got to be you got to be all about astrology, bro. It's all about like knowing if you're Cancer, Virgo, Taurus.
We are in a very
trying to tell people what to do life.
Yeah, dude. I don't even know what you'd call it, but there is something going on where it's like, if you are not with me, then you are fucking I'll give you a perfect
example. Okay, so like Republicans were like, oh, we need Trump in there, he's gonna bring gas prices down. Where gas prices gone? Nowhere, right? Because society and life is complex. It is not simple to like, hey, let's just get gas prices down.
Yeah,
let's just press this little button, change this person here. No, it doesn't work like that. Businesses run things. People act like the government has more power than it does. Businesses have more power than the government.
Oh, hell yeah.
And at the end of the day, your government is there to kind of help regulate, but there could be too much regulation and there could be not enough regulation. There's a middle ground to things. And I think people just are too to the extreme overall. Yeah. And a lot of times those guys don't give a fuck about you.
They don't.
Yeah. And the whole Minnesota thing was crazy. But I need to read more on that.
Pass.
Pass. Puff, pass. Speaking of a lot of cognitive stuff, I like to mentally be balanced. And if you get legs that are strong, you have better memory control.
That was a weird article. Very interesting, because it was like they have better memory retention. I think they have like better preventative measures against like dementia, all those things.
Alzheimer's,
I think there's a specific reason in there, but I want to take it in like almost like a general sense of exercise can do so much, right? So much. And the fact that it can help prevent things like this, God damn it, it's the best thing ever. Like exercise can do so much for you. I have clients who are in their 60s and 90s and whatever, and you can see the difference in like the brightness, I don't know how to say it, in them after there's like a consistency of time working out, where they come in and and you kind of see them as like an old person, you know, and then a few weeks go by and they're like someone new. And who knows, maybe it's the confidence, maybe it's the memory retention or whatever, but something changes. And I don't think that a lot of people see that, right? Unless you're like in this world.
Yeah, because so the title of the article is Running Rewires Your Brain Cells, Igniting Memory, Saving Genes Against Alzheimer's. This was at a Mass General Brigham. Reveals how exercise rewires your brain and cellular level, offering fresh insight into potential. And like, I think inherently we have made things too complex in the science community, right? And so I'll give you a perfect example. My sister-in-law, I went this weekend to my hometown, which is crazy. And
like for real?
It's crazy because I went down the street. It was like 2 gas stations. Wow. Now there's like subdivisions, elementary school, 5, 6, 7 gas stations, IHOP.
Dang.
And I'm like, what? And then I got where I lived, and I was like, and then I remember the middle school. I saw the high school was like 3 times as big as it was. I was like, dang, insane. Well, anyways, this leads me to talking to my sister-in-law. She does research for sleeping. And I was talking to her, and the whole time I was thinking like, you're doing all this research, and it was cool because she was telling me things like, if you don't get enough sleep, they're starting to study like full body, not just cognitive effects, that your body goes into not absorbing nutrients as much. And so I was like, well, maybe that's why the hunger signals are higher. It makes you overeat, and your body doesn't absorb as many nutrients. And so that leads to weight gain because of that.
Yeah.
And so it made me think about like, that's where research is really good. Right. But I was like, at the end of the day, if I don't change behaviors, then it doesn't work.
All the information doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what information I have if I don't change and apply. And so I was thinking like, that's where we as trainers, the frontline people, we have the information. We have to apply that information and teach people how to apply.
Yeah, we truly are like the applicators, right? Like, I don't really know what other service kind of does this. Well, I guess there's like dietitians and things like that, right? But I think personal trainers have this weird niche of being all of those things and none of those things at the same time, right? Like, I mean, I guess I could go be a certified dietitian, but I still also have a lot of information on nutrition, right? And how to help you do that.
I don't think you need as much as people think unless they're special occasions.
Yeah.
So like I literally have a client who has a special occasion, right? And I'm like, look, I could tell you the general information, but you have such a special occasion that I need you to see a dietitian. And that's what they should be used for, like doctors and other people.
Like specific things or events or times or
things
conditions,
that take more detail.
Right. Yeah. I think that's where it comes to help, but it's like general population and just needing help. I mean, like you said, we really are like the front line of that.
Yeah. And Gig'em Aggies here, they had a good study.
What? Yeah. We don't do anything. Was it about farming?
Well, creatine farming.
Cows move 5 times a day. Yeah.
So the overlooks, if they fart enough, it's crazy. This overlooked supplement could help you think sharper and better. Texas A&M did a study on creatine, and it realized that beyond athletic performance, it also helped with cognitive and cellular energy function, and helped with aging as well. From boosting memory and reducing fatigue to preserving muscle mass over time, creatine is emerging as a powerful tool for everyday wellness, despite persistent myths about bloating and safety risks. As a vast of the research shows that both safe and effective for nearly everyone, especially for those who don't get enough from diet. So let's talk about the first group, vegans. They definitely need creatine.
Yeah.
They show the most benefit.
100%. And then I'd probably take it to like older population would be like the next, because they just don't eat as much at all. Then I'd probably go women, because they just tend to not eat a lot of red meat, which is the highest source of creatine. And then maybe men would be last because we just be eating some red meat.
Even though our heart attack is happening. Give me more red meat. I'm having a heart attack, but it's good.
I need a hot dog. But yeah, I mean, creatine, I think needs to not, in the same way like protein, right, needs to stop being looked at as like a gym bro supplement or something like that. Like creatine is something that I think a lot of people could benefit from.
Like fish oil, right?
Like fish oil. I think even general population people, a lot of people that we talk to, right, we'll say, hey, how much protein you get? And they're like, oh, I get 200 grams. Then you ask them what they ate, and you're like, you're not even close.
Nope.
And so creatine might be something that they need too, right? And so it really comes down to your diet. But I do think that this supplement has a huge place in, like they said, the daily nutrition. And if you're not taking creatine, maybe give it a shot.
Yeah, and I think the important part, how do we apply this? Right? So typically it's 5 grams on there. So if you could handle 5 grams at a time, handle 5 grams. Or like, so my dad recently was like, asked me, he was like, I heard, you could do this. And I was like, well, what does your gut take? Right? I know for me, I could take 7 to 8 grams at a time, really low. And then like my gut will start.
And then 3 more grams 10, and you snorted.
I've done 10.
Yeah,
and I was like, I just felt bloated.
Yeah.
And so my body at a time, I could probably take it multiple times a day. I just haven't.
And it's funny because, I mean, I've been personal training for almost 10 years now, and I've had one person who had an adverse reaction to creatine.
It's
and
I'm the most safest supplement.
I'm not even sure if it was that, but after a while I was like, let's just, stop. You don't necessarily need to be taking it. But I mean, like, everybody else is totally fine. In fact, I mean, you get benefit from it,
Most people do. And the weight gain, quote unquote, water retention, it's just intracellular water inside the muscle.
And
so
it
it's not
usually
really
subsides
bad
after a while. It's not permanent weight gain.
It's just
like
very, All right, guys, if you like what we're doing, we're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Strength Solutions Podcast, free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Email us, strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Peace out. Deuces. Until next time, buddies.